Every time your dog puts a paw on you, it's not some random little quirk. It's not just being cute. That single motion is actually a mix of psychology, chemistry, and a memory older than your dog can even consciously remember. Most owners see it smile, pet their dog, and move on without ever asking the real question. Why this specific motion? Why the paw and not a bark, a lick, or a nudge? And stick around till the end, because the last reason on this list goes all the way back to the very first day your dog was alive, before it could see, hear, or even walk. Once you understand where this behavior actually comes from, you'll never look at that little paw on your leg the same way again. Let's break down what's really happening every time that paw lands on you. 1. It started as a trick that worked. Dogs are constant students of cause and effect. They're running an experiment on you every single day, and you probably don't even realize it. Here's how it plays out at some point. Your dog put its paw on your leg, your hand, your lap, and something good happened. Maybe you smiled. Maybe you scratched their head. Maybe you just glanced over and said, "Oh." To your dog, that's data. That's proof. Paw touch equals reward. So they do it again and again. Not because they're manipulating you in some calculated way, but because this is literally how learning works for every dog on the planet. It's the same principle behind sit, stay, and shake. Except this one, you taught by accident, without ever meaning to. But here's the part almost nobody talks about: what happens when you stop reacting. If you suddenly ignore the paw touch, your dog doesn't just quietly give up. In most cases, they push harder. They tap more insistently, sometimes almost frantically, before they eventually stop. Behaviorists call this an extinction burst. And it's not your dog being needy or desperate. It's a completely normal reaction when something that used to work suddenly stops working. Think of it like hitting a vending machine button that always worked, and pressing it 3 more times before you finally accept it's broken. So if your dog is pawing at you a little more aggressively than usual lately, it might just mean you've been a little less responsive than you used to be, and your dog is simply trying the thing that always worked before. 2. They can smell your stress before you say a word. This next one sounds almost unbelievable, but it's backed by real research. Dogs don't just read your face or your tone of voice. They can actually detect chemical changes in your body. A study published in the journal pawing confirmed that dogs are able to smell shifts in human cortisol, the hormone your body releases under stress, just through your breath and your sweat. No visual cues required. No crying, no shouting, nothing dramatic. Just chemistry happening quietly in the background while you're completely unaware of it. On top of that, dogs are constantly reading your posture, your breathing rhythm, and your eye contact. They're picking up on micro signals most humans don't even notice in each other. A slightly stiffer stance, a shallower breath, a longer pause before you speak. So when your dog suddenly walks over and puts a paw on your leg out of nowhere, right as you're stressed about something you haven't even said out loud yet, that's not a coincidence. That's your dog noticing something shift in you before you even acknowledged it yourself. It's a strange thought, honestly. Your dog might know you're stressed before your own family does. 3. It's literally a hormonal bond. Here's where it gets even more interesting. This paw touch isn't one-sided. It's not just your dog getting something out of it. You are too. Gentle physical contact between a dog and their bonded human triggers a release of oxytocin, the same bonding hormone, involved in human relationships, in parent-child attachment, even in romantic connection. And it doesn't just happen in your dog's brain. It happens in yours too. That's why petting your dog feels genuinely calming, not just pleasant. It's not just in your head. It's a real, measurable chemical response happening in both of you at the same time. There's more. Research has shown that calm, physical interaction with a primary caregiver can actually lower a dog's heart rate and help regulate their nervous system, especially during low-stress moments. So that paw on your knee while you're relaxing on the couch isn't just affection. It's your dog physically syncing up with you, calming their own body down through contact with yours. In a very real, biological sense, you are each other's regulation system. 4. Nighttime pawing isn't about you. It's about needs now. A lot of owners assume that when their dog paws at them in the middle of the night, It's some deep emotional gesture. Some people even believe their dog is checking on them, in some mystical way, sensing danger or watching over them while they sleep. The reality is a lot more practical. Nighttime pawing is almost always driven by an actual need. A potty break, feeling too hot or too cold, hunger, or a bit of anxiety. Your dog isn't monitoring your vital signs while you sleep. They're communicating a real, physical requirement, and they're doing it through the only method they have available at 3 a.m. touch. And here's the detail that matters. This behavior is almost always directed at one specific person. Dogs naturally focus their nighttime attention, seeking on their primary caregiver, because that person represents their main source of safety and resources. So if your dog only wakes you up, and never your partner, that's not favoritism in some emotional, sentimental sense. It's your dog identifying who actually gets things done around here. It's practical, not poetic. 5. Where they touch you means less than you think. This one might disappoint some of you, but it's important to clear up, because it's one of the most misunderstood ideas out there. A lot of people believe there's some secret code in where a dog places its paw. Chest means one thing, face means another, leg means something else entirely. There are entire posts online mapping out these supposed meanings in elaborate detail. In reality, dogs aren't operating with that kind of spatial communication system. Paw placement mostly comes down to accessibility. Whatever part of your body happens to be closest and easiest to reach in that moment, that's where the paw goes. It's less about meaning and more about geometry. So if your dog paws at your face specifically, it's usually not some rare, elevated sign of trust like people online love to claim. It's typically a more assertive move to grab your attention immediately, especially if your hands or lap weren't available. Your dog isn't sending you a secret message through location. They're just going for the fastest, most effective route to get noticed. 6. The real origin story. And now, the one I promised you at the start. The reason this behavior exists at all. Before your dog could see clearly, before they could walk, before they even fully understood what was happening around them, they were doing something with their paws. Newborn puppies instinctively press and knead their paws against their mother while nursing. This motion physically stimulates milk flow, helping them get the nourishment they need to survive. It's one of the very first motor actions a puppy ever performs in life. Before barking, before walking, before even opening their eyes. Think about what that means. In those first days of existence, paw contact was directly linked to warmth, to feeding, to safety, to comfort. That connection gets wired in before a puppy can even properly see the world around it. It becomes one of the earliest tactile memories a dog will ever carry, buried somewhere deep enough that it stays with them for the rest of their life. So when your adult dog rests a paw on you decades later, while you're sitting on the couch, while you're sleeping, while you're simply existing in the same room, some part of that motion is an echo of the very first comforting act they ever learned. It's not a coincidence. It's not random muscle memory. It's a behavior stitched into them since before they could even see your face. So the next time your dog puts a paw on you, know that it's not one single thing happening. It's learned habit. It's chemistry. It's your dog reading signals you didn't even know you were sending. And underneath all of that, it's emotion that traces back to the very first days of their life. Back to warmth, back to safety, back to their mother. That paw isn't just a paw. It's a message written in a language your dog has been speaking since before it could even open its eyes.